Hello, everybody. Are you having a great conference? Come on. Yay. Yay. Don't turn the lights on, because that's going to freak me out. Just to see how many people are here, it's a bit intimidating, because it's also this huge screen, and the people like taking videos, and it's a lot. So hello over there. My name is Ramona Biscoveanu. I'm originally from Romania, but based in France. I work as a senior developer at SAP, doing sorts of different things, but mainly front-end. Web is my passion. You can find me on social media with Kodzovra, but I'm not active, so I'm just putting that there because everyone is putting their handlers, and stuff. So, to play it, oh, I'm a cool kid. Because conference are also about connecting with people, fun facts about me, because I live in France, I have to be into cheese and wine, right? And I'm a bit of a snob, I know nothing about them, but I have opinions. And the pandemic made me a crazy plant lady. I'm waiting for my cats, but it's complicated with cats. But meanwhile, I have plants, lots of plants. So if you want to discuss about plants, I have also lots of opinions. But we're talking about animations today, right? So let's get into it. A bit of a warning, there's going to be lots of motions on my slides, like lots of motions. And if you have a problem with this, sorry, maybe look into your phone. It's better. And now that you've been warned, do you know what day is today? Thursday. It's Throwback Thursday. So, who remembers the 90s and how the websites were looking in the 90s, early 2000s? My people. And now I'm a relic. I know how the 90s websites were looking. And I have a surprise for you. I have a GIF. So, there's a lot of motion and colors into the 90s websites. And for the young people that don't know this, we were using dial-up back then. The internet speed was terrible, and the only way we could have animations on our websites was with GIFs. And just imagine, those GIFs were consuming a lot of bandwidth in that very dial-up connection. So most of them were looking like this, compressed, tiny, and the rate frame was terrible. You couldn't see anything. And then there were the sparkly ones, if you remember. But why were they doing that? Why? Even back then, if you was consuming all this bandwidth. And because I probably got you dizzy by now, just looking at, but it was a pretty website, right? It was rainbows and things moving on. Let's look into why even we animate or we use animations on our websites. I would say even back then, in that very colorful website, they were trying to capture users' attention, to capture the focus. And it's something that we also do today. Think of how many distractions we have. Even now, here, I see people coming down, and of course I get distracted, because I'm a human, right? Then you get your notifications on your phone, and you got notifications on your phone now, and you looked into your phone, and I lost you. I see you. I see you. I see you. Which is fine. It's fine. That happens also on our websites when our users try to navigate, or just imagine when you go and try to book your flight tickets, and you get all those annoying pop-ups and stuff. You get distracted, right? And maybe one other reason is that we can also trick our users thinking that our websites are a lot faster. We gave them this perception that actually our APIs are faster, but just putting loaders. And it's actually, statistically speaking, there are studies saying that if you have a custom loader, you have a chance of keeping the people on your website even longer. But I would say in the end, it's all about communication. Because we use animations in marketing type of materials, right? When you want to position a product and make it fancy and cool, we make things move around. And when I talk about this communication, the first point is like grabbing attention. We talked about that. It's fine. Let's move into the next one. We also try to inform our users efficiently. Maybe we have lots of things going on our website, but we want to say, OK, your next step is this. And you put like a small animation on a button that maybe the user needs to click, and that's the next step in the flow of your application. And sometimes, for, as I said, marketing materials, you need very interactive content, and that's very playful, right, for your users to keep them there. And it's also very, very powerful when you try to tell a story, like a storytelling on your website, because we do lots of things. And I was saying, also, it's very good to indicate a status and a progress when, let's going back, when you book your flight tickets, and you fill all those forms and things, and then you just wait there, and you don't know. Did they get your money from your account? Did you get your ticket or not? It's good to show our users that, OK, we're working on this. Our APIs are still working, but we don't have the response yet. And I was saying it's very important also to invest a bit of time in having your custom loader. And I have now a custom loader. It's a very funny story with this custom loader that I'm using it in one of the products I work at SAP, and we load a Unity instance on the web. And if you've ever done that, you know it's slow. And there's nothing that thinks is going to make it faster than building a native Unity instance for it and play it natively. So what we did was, OK, it's not OK to let the people wait with the Unity logo on their screens, because we dissociated this application from what we're doing. So I said, OK. And we built this custom loader that actually has even the name of the product into the loader a bit, because it's a Clover. And well, it really helped. People really wait now for the Unity to be loaded, which it's still impressive, because sometimes takes even 10 seconds on a black screen, which is a lot. But you'll be like, oh, OK, lady, these things are boring. We're developers. These are like designer stuff. They take care of all the UX and like what's important for our applications. But it's also fun to do animations, especially to break animations and have all the things moving around on your screens. And growing up in a Romanian household, I wanted to be an artist. They didn't let me, because they said I'm not going to make any money with that. So then I turned into learning animations, and now I feel like an artist. It's a win-win. But you'll be like, OK, you've been talking all this long about like things, not actually code. It's the conference, the Vue conference. Tell me, how can you do it? Just a bit of like introduction things. I'll be talking from like simple things to more maybe complex stuff. So we'll go to some of the basics. And I know most of you probably already use the transition component, transition group component in Vue. But we'll just look at some small things. So we are very lucky in Vue that we have the transition component that does a lot of things for us. Because if you guys worked in like jQuery times, you need to manually calculate your timings when you add the class, when you remove the class, calculate the delays, and take care of all these. Well, Vue is very nice and help us. So how does it work? We wrap a target element right into the transition component, and we basically ask Vue, be nice and do this for us. And Vue is nice and does that for us. So what it does, it adds these CSS classes for us to have a way how to hook into the life cycle of the animation. And then we do whatever we want with those, and we create creative ones. So this is like the very basic example. With the transition, we have like a P element, and we want to display that like when the show property is true, which is very simple. We either trigger that on a button or whatever you want to do. And probably lots of you have seen this, which is nothing new. Something is jumping on my screen. You've been witnessed. Like, I quit that before starting. So You may have seen this on the awesome Vue docs, which is very clear. We have the classes, right? And you kind of see, OK, when I want to enter, for example, for the opacity, like it's very clear what I do, right? So Vue takes care of all that. You don't have to remove the classes, which to me, when I started developing in Vue, was like life-changing. Because not to do all the calculation was amazing. And you may have seen maybe some of the things have changed from Vue 2 to Vue 3. It's not much, just like some of the class names. Just be aware of if you don't know that when you're trying to migrate stuff. That's helpful. And also, transition as a root component will now trigger transitions. What the hell is happening with that? What is happening? This is not part. Probably it's going to jump again, because something is happening, and I can't do tech stuff now. So we'll just ignore it, right? It's just part of the animation. It's moving around. And, oh, God, this is not going great. OK, let's talk about transition groups, right? When you have like multiple elements that you want to transition them and use the V for, that's when we use transition group. And what you have to keep in mind with Vue 3 is that it's not going to have the default root element. In Vue 2 used to be span. Now you need to put it, which is OK. I work with a lot of SVG type of things, and God damn it, I can't ignore it. So probably I don't want to open my settings and stuff, so I will not do that. So it's fine. We'll just ignore it. I'll stay close. And I have an example for you, which were just like, sliding some things on a screen, some tiles. And if you wonder what the numbers represent, these are the numbers of roundabouts in countries per million of inhabitants. Very useful information for your lives. If you don't learn anything in this talk, maybe this is the most important one. France wins. And how we did this. So, of course, I have a transition group. And then I have my component with all v4s. Nothing very, very complicated. Like, I bind all the things. I have a name. I have a tag for it. And I say that I want to appear when my page loads, because that's what I want to do. And then looking at the classes, it's the same thing. I'm transitioning the opacity. I'm also using a bit of transform to make it slide up. Again, nothing complicated. Maybe some of you already use this. So also we have JavaScript hooks, because CSS is awesome. We can do lots of things with it. But sometimes it's not enough for the things we do. And in Vue, we have lots of hooks to do lots of stuff for everything you want. From my experience, the most used ones for me are enter and leave, and sometimes before enter, like to set up some of the things. But what I'm saying, JavaScript is awesome, because if you look at the CSS, you basically have two handlers to create your movement, when in JavaScript, things are endless. You can do all the moving stuff on your websites. Exactly. And what I'm going to talk also today, it's a bit of GreenSock, because I like it, and it gives you lots of freedom to do lots of things. And also because SVGs and GreenSock are a winning combination. And before starting talking about GreenSock, I'll want to put like a bit of basics, and then I'll show you a bunch of code and movement things. So you'll hear a lot in GSAP about twins, and you'll be like, what the hell are those? And sometimes when you start working with it, it could be confusing. And even like before the GreenSock 3, it was pretty confusing, because I had twin light and twin max, and you're like, what am I going to use, and what's that? It basically what does the animation. I like to think of it, and probably some people say, oh, that's wrong to say. I like to think of it as a function that you set up lots of properties, and it does the things to move on the screen for you. And I would say that these three are the most used, at least for me, twins, like functions that you want to use. And if you know this, you can do lots of things, from like simple to complicated stuff. And we have the to one, where, of course, it does that. It goes somewhere, so you, and how it works, it's like jQuery stuff. You put your selector, and then you put the variables, and it does all that for you. And the last one, what's I think a good one, an important one, it's the from to, is that you can put the start and the end properties, and you can animate that, with the start and end. And it's also that you can set up if you have like special properties like duration, or I don't know, you maybe want to call it like on complete or something, you can do that in the toolbar. It's kind of great, because you can do it just once and it does it for you. And also, you can set lots of other things, like with JSubset, as the name says, you set the things. And I took my roundabouts example, and I made it even more jumpier. Because maybe sometimes we don't want to just push the things to our screens, right? And how I did that. So I kept my tile component v4. I put the wrapper div just for the layouting. And then I use the mounted, because sometimes you don't even need to use the JavaScript hooks in Vue. There are lots of other ways you can do it. And my example here, I use it for the mounted, because I just want it to appear when I load my component. And after loading the gsub component, I use the from tween. I'm just setting, you see, like small things, like the duration, opacity, and I'm also putting the ease. And what's the most important part in here is the stagger value. And what this one does, think of it like it adds a 0.1 second every time it loads the next animation, and that's why you'll see that effect, like it loads one by one. And if you look at under docs and website, there are lots of cool things you can do, like loading from the middle, from the side, just to get your users dizzy when they see your things. And the other day, I've seen this on Twitter, and I was like, I need to port that to Vue and show it to the people. And I did that. And it's amazing, because we have confettis. And regarding the value, this is what I copied from the NPM, so I don't know what Ivan was showing this morning, but this is the value that I got from the NPM stats, so don't scream at me. And how I did this. All I have in my template is just the H1 element, where I'm passing the value, and that I need to format, because you've seen there are like commas and stuff, which I need to add those to make it look pretty. And I'm also dynamically binding a class. I'm using the refs because I want to access the value. I have a class for nicely styling. And how I do this? I'm using timelines in GSAP. And what are the timelines will be? Well, think of it like tools to sequence your animations. Because maybe sometimes you have a bunch of them that you do, so you use timelines for that. And they're also cool because you can do a bunch of them. Like you can nest them. They have play, restart type of functions. So very useful. And how I did this? Again, I use the mounted. And I use a from to tween for this one. And what I do here, I send the values. And I'm setting up a smaller scale, because you've seen it kind of jumps at one point. And I'm sending the end, how it ends, what's the final value I want. And what's the most important part here, I'm using the snap. And what does one is just increments. It does increments the inner text for me. And then I have duration and ease, which is important fluff to put there. And then on update, I am actually formatting my my numbers to get the commas and everything. And then on complete, we throw confettis, because that's what you do. And then I make the text to jump, the effect of jumping. It's through the next tween. And you'll see here I have the from to, and then I'm adding the to one, which is one after the other. And that's what the timelines do. And as I was saying, you can also restart this one. So I have a restart button where I'm restarting my timeline. So it does again the whole counting and adds the snap and then throws the confettis. And I'm setting my eCelebrate class to false because I don't want to have all the nice styling. I want to go back to the basic number styling. And what about page transition? You'll be like, because we need to transition pages too. In Vue router 4, the syntax changed a bit. We're not wrapping the router view into the transition component anymore. Now we're putting transition inside the router view and use the vslot API, slot API. And that's what you do. And I have an example, and I swear to God, the animation is better on the web, but I'm scared to do live demos, because you've seen, like, it jumps there. So I did the recording, where it's a bit jumpy. I try to but it's complicated. So what I do here is, I have two things. I load the text, I change the scale of the picture, and I also made like the wavy type of loading for the text. And let's look how this is happening. So I use the Vue router syntax, I'm having like the onLeave and the leave and enter JavaScript hooks that I'm using, and we'll look basically for the enter ones, because it says I have only 4 minutes more. So here I'm using the split text plugin. I'm registering the plugin, and then I'm setting some defaults because I want the same duration and the same is for all of them. And then I have my function to split my text. What this one does, depending on what you want, even words or charts, it creates like an array of things for you that you can animate, which is awesome. That's why it loads one by one, basically the letter, and you get that effect there. And then on enter, I create my master timeline that I'm going to add multiple timelines to it. And I say it on complete because I'm using on enter hook, that it's done. It's done. Move on to something else. And here I'm adding to the master timeline. I'm adding just another timeline to have my sliding type of animation, and then like the title, the header loading the one by one character with my split text. And then I'm doing the same thing for what's below the title, like the text. And you'll be wondering, what are those numbers there at the end? This one is just a position parameter. Sometimes you use this to just to time your timelines and stuff, not to manually handle the delays. And sometimes it can be very confusing. And at the end, I'm just adding the image scale to make it, pop. And just looking at how the enter content text animation looks, it's just basic, not much. It's a from to twin, changing the opacity, and just adding like a small stagger, to make it nicer. And same thing for the image scale out. And moving to SVGs, because they are awesome. Have a chart, because I love data visualizations, and this was my sneaky way of bringing that into an animation talk. So I have this chart. I'm using D3 to calculate the arcs and do all the things in there, and then I'm using JSWORLD to actually animate. You've seen like the line slowly loads, and it's a nice and smooth load. So how this happens, it's not complicated. So here I'm using a watcher for my data. So every time the data changes, I'll have that nice animation. So I'm basically getting each of the old values and old and new values, and I'm calculating the Ds for my SVG attribute, and I'm pasting. Oops, you didn't see that. And I'm sending that to my from to twin, and that just does the job. And I want to give a shout out to Vue's Motion. It's for me, it's a new library, and it's amazing. I hope it's gonna grow and grow more. And this is all from my side. Thank you very, very much. And don't forget, don't abuse your animations on our website, because sometimes can be very, very useful, but sometimes can kill your audience. Thank you very much.